Right now, as you're watching this, 67,000 people are displaced from their homes across Spokane County. Over 700 structures burned to foundations in a single 24-hour period. 3 separate wildfires ignited simultaneously on Saturday, August 1st. And as of this morning, they've merged into what officials are calling the worst natural disaster the region has ever faced. This is the Spokane Complex Fire, and here's everything you need to know about what's burning, who's evacuating, and what the next 72 hours of weather means for whether this gets better or catastrophically worse. Let's start with the big picture, because understanding the statewide fire context is essential to understanding what's happening in Spokane right now. Washington State is in its 4th consecutive year of drought, 4 straight years of critically low moisture across the state, with each year compounding the severity of the last. Snowpack across the Cascades came in well below normal this past winter, sitting at only 60% of normal in many locations. That snow dries out early in the spring with no natural buffer to carry moisture into summer months. Back in April, the Washington State Department of Ecology declared a statewide drought emergency, months before the peak of fire season even arrived. The National Interagency Fire Center predicted above-average fire risk for the entire state of Washington throughout August, and that prediction was absolutely correct. More than 1,000 individual fires have ignited across Washington state so far in 2026. Approximately 425,000 acres have burned, the most acreage since 2021. We're still weeks away from the official end of fire season in late September. The state legislature doubled the firefighting budget to $120 million this year. Even that historically massive commitment is being tested hard right now. Fuel moisture values across the state, measured through the energy release component, are sitting at the 90th to 95th percentile statewide. What that means in plain language is this: the grass, the brush, the timber across Washington is critically dry and will ignite easily under any wind event. A spark is all that's needed. A stray ember is enough to trigger explosive growth. Fuel beds that normally require sustained heat to ignite are now primed to catch fire from the smallest ignition source. That's the statewide context. Now let's focus on the individual fires burning right now across eastern Washington, and specifically on what happened in Spokane this past weekend. Starting with the largest fire in the state, the Kaiser Canyon Fire in Okanogan County near Cooley Dam. This fire ignited on July 16th and has now burned approximately 131,000 to 134,000 acres. That is over 200 square miles from a single fire, and it is only 30 to 38% contained according to the National Interagency Fire Center Situation Report. More than 1,000 personnel are assigned to Kaiser Canyon alone. This is an absolutely massive operational commitment. If you are in any of the following areas, you need to know your evacuation status right now. Level 3, Go Now evacuation orders, cover the Cawville Reservation, Haley Creek, Armstrong Meadows, Ooey Lake, and Empire Creek Road. If you're in these zones, you need to leave immediately. Do not wait. Level 2, Get Set, orders are in place for Nesbellum, Omak Lake, Moses Mountain, West Fork, Coyote Creek, and Cache Creek. Those residents need to be packed, vehicle loaded, and ready to leave at a moment's notice. Do not wait for a Level 3 order to start preparing. State Route 155 is closed from Monument South to Park City Loop Road, and again at Schoolhouse Loop Road. Coyote Creek Road and Cache Creek Road are both closed to all traffic. Do not attempt to access the fire area under any circumstances. Moving to the Midweek fire in Ferry County, and this one has escalated significantly in the last 48 hours. The Midweek fire sparked on July 17th from a lightning strike west of Lake Roosevelt near Enchelium. In a single day, Thursday to Friday, this fire grew by approximately 17,500 acres. Containment dropped from 63% all the way down to 30% overnight. The total current footprint is over 37,000 acres. FEMA has approved federal disaster funds for this fire. That's a significant escalation in federal response. The fire is directly threatening Enchelium, including the community center, the tribal EMS building, the fire and rescue station, the library, a child care center, and a local wood treatment plant. This is critical community infrastructure that's at risk right now. The G Ford Ferry is closed. If you are evacuating from the eastern side of the Cawville Reservation, use Enchelium Highway or State Route 25 north to Kettle Falls. Know your evacuation route before you need it. Level 3, go. Now evacuation orders are in effect for Chelium, Lynx Mountain, Rainy Ridge, Spudsler Road, Round Lake, Twind Lakes, Box Canyon, Cada, and Kiowa. For Claville reservation updates, follow the Claville Tribal Broadcast System on Facebook immediately. In Stevens County, northeast of Spokane, near Lake Roosevelt, the Burdine Hill Fire started on July the 25th and has burned between 3,800 and 4,200 acres with only 3 to 7% containment. Level 3 evacuations are in effect for the G Ford area. The Attai G Ford Road is closed to all traffic. A Red Cross shelter is open at Jenkins High School. If you have large animals, they can be transported to the Ardan Rodeo Grounds in Okanogan County. The Sinlaw-Haken fire near Tennessee has grown to over 36,000 acres with 0% containment. An out-of-state complex incident management team has been deployed to take command and protect communities in the Slacken Valley. Level 3 and Level 2 evacuation orders are in effect for multiple communities throughout the Slahan Valley. Then there's the Little Giant Fire in the Int Valley near Leavenworth, approximately 30 miles northwest of that city. Lightning ignited this one on July 16th, and it has grown to approximately 30 to 31,000 acres with 0% containment. The National Interagency Fire Center describes extreme fire behavior, including crowning, long-range spotting, and uphill runs in steep timber terrain. A Forest Service closure order is in effect for the Okanogan-Wachee National Forest in the Little Giant Fire area. Do not attempt to hike, camp, or access recreation areas in that closure zone. Level 3 orders are in effect for parts of Shallon County. Check the Shallon County incident map on Argus online for the most current boundary updates. Up near the Canadian border, the Ptarmigan Fire is burning in the Pasatun Wilderness in Okanogan County, approximately 13 to 14,000 acres with 0% containment. Multiple Passon Wilderness trails are currently closed. Check the U.S. Forest Service website for the full list before heading into that area. But everything changed this past weekend, and now we need to talk about what happened right in Spokane because this is the story dominating national headlines. Spokane is Washington's second largest city, home to roughly 229,000 people. On Saturday, August 1st, 3 separate wildfires broke out in and around the Spokane metro area. Simultaneously, the Old Trails Fire, the Autumn Lane Fire, and the Fairview Fire, collectively now managed as the Spokane Complex Fire. Together, these 3 fires have burned more than 10,000 acres as of Tuesday morning. As of this morning, all 3 fires have some level of containment, a major shift from the 0% containment they all started with. Let's break down each fire individually. The Old Trails Fire is responsible for the bulk of the destruction in this complex. It ignited just before noon on August 1st near Old Trails Road and West Euclid Road north of Airway Heights. Southwest winds, gusting between 35 and 45 miles per hour, drove the fire north and east with extraordinary speed. The fire burned through Riverside State Park, jumped the Spokane River, and drove uphill into the Indian Trail neighborhood. The Spokane River has a canyon, and those canyon walls act like a wind tunnel channeling and accelerating the fire unpredictably. Benjamin Kell from the California-based Federal Incident Team described the situation directly. He said, "We have weather working against us and terrain working against us. As of Tuesday morning, the Old Trails Fire has burned approximately 3,500 acres. Fire Chief Cody Robach confirmed that 700 structures have been destroyed, most of them homes inside." Spokane city limits. Entire neighborhoods in the Indian Trail and 5 Mile Prairie areas are gone. Homes have been reduced to just foundations. Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown said it plainly at Sunday's press conference. This is really the worst natural disaster our region has faced. But here's the critical detail that nobody's talking about enough yet. On Monday evening, 37-year-old Aaron F. Farinacci was arrested for felony first-degree arson in connection with the Old Trails Fire. The fire that destroyed 700 homes, that displaced 67,000 people, that burned through a state park and jumped a river and consumed entire neighborhoods, was deliberately set by a human being. Investigators determined that this wasn't a lightning strike or an accident or some freak act of nature. This was arson. This was intentional. A person made a choice to set a fire on one of the hottest, driest, windiest days on record, knowing exactly what conditions existed. Fire investigators worked around the clock to track down the origin point and develop evidence. By Monday evening, they had enough to make an arrest and charge Farinacci with felony first-degree arson. That changes everything about how we talk about this disaster. This is not just a natural disaster. This is a crime. This is a deliberate act on a day when conditions were so extreme that the National Weather Service issued its first ever particularly dangerous situation red flag warning. The Autumn Lane Fire is the second piece of this complex, and it's actually become the most dangerous of the 3 fires in terms of growth potential and behavior. By late Monday afternoon on August 3rd, the Autumn Lane Fire had grown to 1,000 acres, becoming the single largest fire of the complex at that point. Think about that trajectory. Saturday afternoon it started. By Monday, it had burned 1,000 acres. As of Tuesday morning, the fire had grown to 5,169 acres with 13% containment. That's roughly 6,000 acres in just over 3 days. That fire nearly doubled in size between Monday and Tuesday. Incident commanders initially reported that crews had relatively decent control of the Autumn Lane boundaries at certain points, but 13% containment means it can still move and still grow. The fire tore through the northern parts of the Little Spokane River Natural Area, burning through sensitive habitat and forest trails. Trails that were burning Monday morning included the Knothead Loop Trail area above the Little Spokane River Natural Area. Land and trails lining Rudder Parkway near the Little Spokane River were actively burning. The fire had not crossed West Rudder Parkway as of early Monday morning, but conditions were changing rapidly, and the fire was becoming more aggressive. Benjamin Kossel, a spokesperson for the California Interagency Incident Management Team 7, told reporters that the Autumn Lane fire has the most potential to get out and go wild out of all 3 fires. His exact words were, it has the most potential to just kind of get out and go wild, like truly go wild. That's the fire that resources are being focused on right now. That's the fire keeping incident commanders up at night. The Autumn Lane fire is the priority because it has the most room to run and the most destructive potential in the coming days. The Fairview fire rounds out the complex at approximately 981 acres, burning 2 miles northeast of Spokane near Meade. The Fairview fire showed extreme fire behavior initially, including wind-driven runs, crowning, and short-range spotting across energy infrastructure. Spotting means embers are being carried ahead of the fire front and igniting new fires before the main wall of flame even arrives. That's one of the most dangerous behaviors a wildfire can exhibit, and it makes containment extremely difficult in any terrain. However, forward progress of the Fairview fire had stopped as of Sunday night, and while the fire was still active, the major danger had passed, according to incident commanders. Evacuation zones for all 3 fires are large, overlapping, and still actively changing. Follow Spokane County Emergency Management for live updates every single day. Level 3 Go Now orders cover areas north of Francis Avenue and west of Division Street in Spokane. Level 2 Get Set, warnings extend toward the Magnesium Road corridor. Level 1 Get Ready, zones are even broader. If you are in any of these zones, do not wait to see flames. When you get the order, you leave immediately. As of Sunday evening, at least 67,000 residents had been ordered to evacuate from the Spokane area. 409 families sheltered overnight at the Spokane Convention Center per Spokane County Emergency Management. The Spokane County Fairgrounds is also open as an evacuation shelter. Small pets are welcome at the convention center. All 14 people who were initially considered unaccounted for are now safe, according to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. There have been no reported fire-related deaths or serious injuries, but Mayor Brown said they are still assessing the potential for lives to be lost in areas that crews have not yet been able to safely access. Now, I need to address something directly, because it affected firefighting operations on Sunday and it cannot happen again. Firefighters reported 26 unauthorized drone incursions over active fire lines in Spokane on Sunday alone. 26 separate drone intrusions in a single day. Every time an unauthorized drone enters restricted airspace, helicopters and air tankers are grounded. They cannot fly until that airspace is clear. If you fly a drone near a fire, you are grounding the aircraft that are saving people's homes. Do not fly drones anywhere near an active fire area for any reason. This is not a request. This is a federal law. Flying a drone in restricted airspace near a wildfire is a federal offense. The statewide firefighting response to this situation is absolutely massive. Over 4,000 personnel from multiple states are currently assigned across eastern Washington's major fires. Washington's Commissioner of Public Lands, Dave Up the Grove, was direct about the resource picture. He said, "Folks are stretched thin." Governor Bob Ferguson activated 110 Washington National Guard members to the fire lines. This is the first Guard wildfire activation since 2021. Washington Army National Guard Aviation has been running UH-60 Blackhawk and CH-47 Chinook helicopters on water drops continuously since July 19th. The Washington State Fire Marshal's Office has mobilized 13 firefighting task forces assigned across multiple major fires statewide. An additional task force is pre-staged and ready for new fire starts that forecasters expect as heat returns midweek. Over 100 firefighters are working the Spokane complex fires specifically, with additional resources coming each day. California Incident Management Team 7 is coordinating the entire Spokane complex response. FEMA activated fire management assistance grants on Sunday morning, making federal funding available to cover up to 75% of eligible firefighting costs. President Donald Trump approved the emergency declaration for Washington state on Tuesday, allowing FEMA to coordinate federal relief efforts for all the devastating fires throughout the state. The state has activated the Emergency Management Assistance Compact to pull in additional out-of-state resources. Washington put up $120 million for firefighting this year, double last year's budget, and even that is being tested hard. Now, this is the part of this video I want you to really pay attention to, because the weather forecast is critical right now. The next 72 hours could be the difference between gaining ground on these fires or losing significantly more structures and territory. Let me take you through what happened Saturday, because it set the stage for everything happening right now. A dry cold front swept through Washington state, bringing strong winds from the south and southwest with virtually no moisture attached to it. Per the National Weather Service Spokane area forecast discussion, issued August 1st, sustained winds reached 20 to 30 miles per hour, with gusts reaching 35 to 50. Peak gusts recorded 37 miles per hour in Yakima and 51 miles per hour in Ellensburg, with some reports of gusts exceeding 50 in exposed areas. Relative humidity dropped to just 11% in some locations. That is desert dry for vegetation that is already critically dry from months of drought conditions. That is the driest air mass you can have on the continental United States. Those exact conditions triggered the National Weather Service to issue the first ever particularly dangerous situation, red flag warning for Washington State. A PDS designation is reserved for when conditions go beyond standard critical fire weather into historically dangerous territory. This had never been issued before in Washington State history, not once in the entire historical record. The National Weather Service was essentially saying, we have entered territory we have never seen before in this state. Today, Monday, August 3rd, the picture is mixed. The good news is that the cold front has pushed through. The National Weather Service Spokane confirmed that the worst of the extreme wind event is behind us. For Sunday into Monday, winds were 20 to 25 miles per hour in basin areas, 25 to 35 miles per hour along Cascade Gaps. Relative humidity is running around 20 to 25%, still dry, but meaningfully improved from Saturday's lows of 11%. That is a significant step down. However, and this is absolutely critical, those fuel moisture values are not recovering. Energy release component remains at or above the 90th to 95th percentile. That means the grass, the brush, the timber is still critically dry and ready to ignite even with reduced winds today and into tomorrow. The fuels have not changed just because the wind has eased. All existing fires remain at risk for continued growth and spotting even with these reduced wind conditions. Tuesday, August 4th, is shaping up to be the best firefighting window of this 72-hour forecast period. Winds continue to diminish from the dangerous levels we saw over the weekend. Humidity sees some partial recovery, moving from those dangerous 11% levels back into the upper teens and low 20s. The National Weather Service fire weather threat classification for eastern Washington is lower on Tuesday than it was on Saturday, giving firefighting crews a meaningful operational window. Crews are going to be pushing extraordinarily hard on Tuesday to reinforce containment lines and build structure protection while conditions allow. This is the critical day for firefighting operations. Incident commanders have already stated that Tuesday is the day they are going to be aggressive with resource and deployment and containment line construction. Every single acre of perimeter that can be secured on Tuesday is an acre that crews don't have to defend on Wednesday and Thursday when conditions deteriorate again. Every structure that can be protected on Tuesday might be saved when the heat returns. That window matters tremendously. Every foot of containment line built on Tuesday is a buffer against what comes midweek when the weather pattern changes dramatically and dangerously. Wednesday and Thursday, August 5th and 6th, this is where I want your full attention. Per the National Weather Service Spokane official forecast, temperatures begin climbing Tuesday and rising to around 84 degrees, a noticeable step up from today's high near 79. By Wednesday, August 5th, the forecast shows a high near 90 degrees. Thursday, August 6th, climbs further to near 94, approaching the all-time record for that date. That's a warming trend of roughly 15 degrees over 3 days. That kind of warming and drought conditions causes rapid evaporation of any residual moisture from the weekend's brief cool spell. That warming combines with winds that are expected to remain gusty across eastern Washington and critically dry fuels that have not recovered moisture. The National Weather Service statement on the pattern is unambiguous. They said, dry conditions, winds, and elevated temperatures are expected to continue throughout the upcoming week. That's their official statement. Here's the precipitation picture, and it is not encouraging at all. Eastern Washington is forecast to receive essentially zero rainfall through the week, meaning no measurable precipitation. Some spotty showers may reach areas west of the Cascade Crest, but that moisture is not crossing meaningfully into eastern Washington where the fires are burning. Without rainfall, fuel moisture cannot recover. The brief cool down from the weekend's cold front gets erased very quickly come midweek, and we're right back to extreme fire conditions. Forecasters are also noting that conditions could intensify again toward the end of the week, as winds potentially increase with the next upper-level weather system moving into the region. I want to be precise. Here, exact wind values for late week remain subject to forecast uncertainty, so monitor National Weather Service Spokane daily for updates on wind speed expectations. What is not uncertain is the trend. No rain, fuel staying critically dry, temperatures climbing significantly, fire danger returning to elevated to critical levels midweek and beyond into next week. This is not a situation that improves quickly. Current fire weather focus has also shifted to other regions. East central and eastern Montana is seeing sustained northwest winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour. Relative humidity there is just 10 to 15%, with energy release component values above the 95th percentile. That is critical fire weather in Montana today. Eastern Idaho is also under critical fire weather conditions. The Snake River Plains are seeing southwest winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour near Pocatello and Idaho Falls. There is a dry thunderstorm threat across central and northeastern Montana into far western North Dakota this afternoon. Dry thunderstorms are lightning that reaches the ground without any accompanying rain. The rain evaporates in the hot, dry air before it hits, but the lightning still causes ignitions over fuel moisture values above the 95th percentile that could spark new fires across Montana today. The entire Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies corridor is under siege from wildfire right now, and resources are being stretched across multiple states simultaneously. For Western Washington, including Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, and Bellingham, you have had cooler weather with onshore flow protecting you the past few days. That marine air has kept temperatures mild and kept smoke away. That protection ends this week. The wind pattern shifts offshore, bringing continental air mass into the region. Temperatures warm back into the 80s by midweek. Smoke from eastern Washington fires will begin pushing into the Puget Sound. Corridor by Tuesday and will intensify through midweek. Expect hazy skies and a noticeable smoke smell. Visibility may drop significantly. Have N95 rated masks ready right now before air quality deteriorates. Keep windows and doors closed on heavy smoke days. Run HVAC systems on recirculate, not fresh air intake. You do not want to be bringing outdoor air inside when visibility is limited to a few blocks. Children, the elderly, pregnant women, and anyone with asthma or COPD are most vulnerable to wildfire smoke and its fine particulate matter. Limit outdoor activities when air quality is poor. Smoke contains harmful particles that penetrate deep into your lungs. Check airnow.gov. That's AIRNOW.gov for current air quality readings in your specific area, updated continuously throughout the day. Air quality updates every hour, so you can track exactly how conditions are changing in your location.